now. Anyone have any homework questions on 8.1 and 8.2? Anyone have any homework questions on 8.1 and 8.2? Anyone? Anyone have that questions before we start with our class? Anyone? The first thing, if you have questions on A1, A2, please ask me after class or email me. First announcement, same announcement, student athlete test. This is this coming Friday, November 5th at 12 to 1 o'clock. In CLA 116, you got 1 hour to do these 20 multiple choice questions. I post this in the D2L, and I think I sent it to you some the information and some test questions before that. I would recommend you guys to come and take this test because it will be awarded, any positive points will be awarded to your extra credit for test 2, which is the next announcement we'll talk about. Beside that, you got some cash. If you are the first, second, or third place score, you will get some not a lot, but you got some cash. So this is the math test in fall, and again, we will have one in spring. It's very around spring break, either before or after spring break, depends on the situation of the COVID-19, because they canceled the last time. So if you have any questions with this, please email me or let me know. You got any correct answer is a +2, any wrong answer is a -1/2, any blank is 0. So recommend, if you do not know how to do the work, just blank it. Don't put any answers, because if it's wrong, you got deducted. Okay. Anyone have any questions with me with this method test?
So when you do it, when will you get the score back?
You probably will get the score on before Thanksgiving, so around your second test.
Okay.
Yep. Because this is this math league is the whole America is doing it, and I think November 6th is the last day to do we got a window. We got 2 weeks of window, and November 6th is the last day to do it. So by November, the next week, I will get the answer, and then I will grade it, and then we will get back the results as soon as, once I got the answers from the moderator, the person who do it. Yes, and I think if you look at those questions, they are very tricky and very hard. It's not something easy, and I would recommend you guys. This is where I will start to, this is where you start to pick your brains, and this is a bit tough. So I would recommend you guys to try it. Okay, at least 1 or 2 questions. You do not need to do all 20 questions. At least you get some points awarded to your test 2. Okay, so anyone, Danny, anyone have any more questions with this?
Will your score be in D2L?
I'm sorry?
Will your score be in D2L?
This score?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will add into your test 2 in D2L.
Okay. So
in test 2, I will put in now extra credit from the math week test. So that will be something I will add on to it. You will see it when you get back to test 2. Yep. Anyone? Questions? How about chapter 8? Chapter 8.1 and 8.2. Anyone have any questions on these 2, law of sine and law of cosines? We're going to continue with 8.3 today if you don't have questions, which is vectors. So before I continue, your test 2, this is the test 2 information. I am currently working on the review for the test 2. This is something new. The review for the test 2 is not the review that I gave it to you last time, where it comes from a textbook, because I do not know if any one of you did to review. That's the reason why that a lot of people flunk the first test is because I think you guys did not do the review. So this review that I'm doing it, I spent quite a bit of time doing review here before I start the test 2 out. This will give you points in your test 2. Okay. I think it's around like 10 points in your test 2. Okay. So what you do is I will send a review to you. Hopefully, let me think, tomorrow or Friday. So either one of those days. So I will send it to you via email or D2L. I want you to print the review out and work on it. And there are around 10 questions in this review, around 10 questions. And that's why there's 10. And then every question's worth a point in the test. So this is automatically 10 points awarded in test 2. And when do you turn this review in? You turn it in when you take your test. So this is due when you take your test 2. Okay. When is your test 2? Your test 2 is not next week. Your test 2 is the following week, 15 and 17. So your test 2 is on Monday, the November 15, or Wednesday, November 17. So this is your test 2 here. It is in where we do last time, CLA 116 or something else. I will tell you where is it at. It's the same place you took last time. I think it's 116 or 118. It's one of those.
I thought it was 114.
114. Okay, thank you. So it's CLA 114. So it's the same classroom. I will confirm again. It's in the syllabus, so go check the syllabus. It's inside it's in my syllabus. It's CLA 114. It's going to be the same class time. That means it goes from 12 to 1:30. And when you guys walk in, the first thing is I will ask you for the review for the test, which is the complete done. There are around 10 questions, and you got, I want you to do it on your own. You got a whole week to do it. So I'll probably give it to you this week. Yeah, sometime this week. So you got the whole next week, the whole week, like 10 days to do it. So make sure you guys do this review because the review is very similar to your test 2. So if you're not gonna do your review, I can guarantee you, you're gonna fail my test 2 again. And by the time I just say withdraw from my class, okay? Last time, remember, I say the last name A to M and then N to Z. So I'm gonna switch these 2 around because it's not fair to those students who are last name A to M have obviously the test on the first day. So now I'm gonna switch this is from Monday, the first day, November 5. If your last name is from N to Z, you're gonna take your test on Monday. And if your last name is A to Z, A to M, then you will take it on the Wednesday. So I'm gonna switch the dates around for this case because I'm not treating fair to the students who are always, last name is A and M, A to M, and they take it the first day. So now I'm gonna switch around. So NZ take the first day, and then Wednesday A to M. If you want to switch around the test day, make sure you let me know because then because of the capacity of the classroom, I cannot sit everyone into in one classroom due to COVID-19 reason. So again, the test is from 12 to 1:30. It covers chapter 7.4, 7.5, and then 8.1 till 8.6. We don't cover 8.5 in our class in this case. So 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, and then 8.6. We don't cover 8.5. The only formula provided to you is from 7.5. This is the one that I will provide to you in the test, which is the double angle formula, the half angle, the power reducing, the sum to product, product to sum. Those formulas will be provided to you in the test. The rest of them, like the addition and subtraction formula, remember the sine A minus U minus V and cosine U minus V or tangent U minus V, and the law of sine and law of cosine that you learn in chapter 8.1, 8.2, those are not provided in the test. So anything that you learn is not provided in the test. So this is your test 2, and this is something extra for everyone. So this is also, I want you guys to know, you are allowed to bring, listen carefully, you are allowed to bring one piece of notes or whatever you want, one piece of paper during your test 2. And it's only the front page. That means just the front page of notes. It's the size of this, is that the normal size paper, not the big size that you can go buy, you know, the super big size. Just a front page of the first. You can write whatever you want, cheat sheet, formulas, whatever you want to do. You can only bring the one piece plus the formula from 7.5 that I will provide to you, so you do not need to write that formula out. So one piece of notes, you can bring it to your test, only front, not front and back, just front. You guys got me? Questions? Okay.
So you can write anything on that piece of
You
paper.
can write whatever you want on this piece.
So you could draw a unit circle if you wanted to.
You can draw whatever, I don't care. You can write as small as that you need. If you want to bring a magnifying glass to read it, up to you. That's your choice. Okay, you can write as big, as small, but it's only one piece of notes, front page, not front and back, just front page. Whatever you want to write on it, you know, examples, formulas, unit circles, you be my guest. I don't know what you want to do with it. So, and it's only one piece. Questions? Anyone? And the
Can I
formulas,
type something and print it out?
you can type it out, you can write it out, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter with me. No, I already told you it's only front, Zoe. Only front page. Okay. So questions, anyone? Okay, you can type, you can write, you can type as big, write as big, small as you want. You're gonna bring a magnifying glass, be my guide. That one, up to you, what you want to do with it. Okay, only one piece, front page only. Okay, and then make sure you do the review. And then don't forget the formula for 7.5 is given to you. So you do not need to write on that piece of paper. If you want, it's up to you, but you do not need to. Questions? And yes, I will walk around when you take the test and check on your paper, check on your formula, check on this piece of paper, make sure it's just the front page. I do not know Dosia, I haven't set up. It's around 10, around 10 to 12 questions. Again, you only got 1.5 hours to do it. It's not going to be like 30, 40 questions. Okay, it's going to be 10, like your first test, 10. And your whole test 2 is all going to be calculator. So you can use your calculator in this case. Okay, so it's not like last time, remember you got blue and the white. Blue one's horrible. So this is all going to be all white. You can use calculator in this case. Okay, the whole test 2 is calculator based. So make sure, and if you want to use your graphing calculator, yes, you can use your graphing calculator in this test. Okay, because we are not doing any graphing in this. So yeah, there's no graphing in test 2. Test 1, you have a graphing. That's why I don't like you guys to use the graphing calculators. But now test 2, there's no graph. You do not draw any graph at all. Anyone have any questions with this test 2 before we move on to 8.3? Oops. Anyone? Okay, so there is a lot of stuff you can do here now. So, oops, so you have the review that give you 10 points to your test 2. You can use the one piece of notes that you can bring into class just on your front page. And then don't forget the math lead test that that you come and take on this Friday. This will give you an extra credit to your test 2 here. And that means that there is no extra credit more in test 2. So that means it's not going to be, like, remember test 1, I give you the extra credit that, you know, after test 1 you do it, you got no such chance of that. Okay, so if you bomb the test 2, you bomb it, that's it. I'm not going to grade by curve, not going to do anything on it. Okay. Questions? All right, so we gonna continue with 8.3 today. So 8.3 is talking about vectors. So what is a vector? A vector is where it involves magnitude and direction. Okay, so a vector is where you will have what we call as it has two quantities, the magnitude and the direction. Vector is used in physics a lot, like force, velocities, what else? Gravity. Those are all we call it vector. So like when you go on roller coaster, you go up, and then down. So that magnitude means how fast the roller coaster go, and direction means what direction is that, up, down, or some, that kind of. So that is called the vectors. So how do we label vectors? Vectors is labeled using this kind. There are a few ways for us to label vectors. So I'm going to show you how vectors. So in vectors, we will label this using one way, a few ways actually. So, and class, when you do the, I will show it to you later. So we can label your vectors using PQ. Okay, so this is one way to write. What is PQ? P in this case is where your initial point is. That means where you start. Q in this case is your ending point, where it terminates. Okay, so usually a vector looks something like this. This is a vector. It usually have a starting point, and then it has an arrow. It looks like a ray. Okay, this is your P. And then this at the end of the ray is your Q. Okay, so this is called PQ, the vector PQ. Okay, and usually we draw an arrow like that. And yes, you can also draw your arrow the other way, which very seldom we do it. That means that your initial point is Q, and then your terminal point is P. But we don't do that a lot. If you go to a higher level math class, then yes, we will draw the arrow backwards. So the magnitude is the length of this. So this length, so if you measure the length of this, this arrow, this is your magnitude. Okay, and how do we denote magnitude? Is two absolute value PQ. So every time when you see me putting two absolute value, like, and then with the vector PQ in there, that means they are talking about magnitude, means the length. And this is a scalar, a number. So this is like 10 units, or I don't know how we can read. So you will need to know that magnitude. And in order for you to find this magnitude, you have to use the distance formula. Okay, so the distance formula. So usually this is given us in coordinates. So this is x1, y1, and x2, y2. So in order for us to find what is the distance from P to Q, the magnitude we call it. So if you want to find the magnitude from P to Q, so in this case, we use the formula of square root of, this is a distance formula, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. So if a question gives you coordinates, and I want you to find what is the magnitude of this, you just do your the distance for it. Okay, and so that is called vectors. Two directed lines, segment or ray in this case, have the same magnitude and directions. They are called equivalent. So equivalent vectors is where they have exactly the same magnitude and the same direction. For example, if I give you, this is one vector, which is P and Q. Okay. And then if I give you another vector, let's say this, and this is M and N, M to N, example, then these two are what we call as equivalent if the magnitude here is the same. So let's say this is 5 inches, 5 units, then this is also 5 units. And the direction is angles. So let's say this is 210 degrees, for example, and this is also 210 degrees, for example. Don't forget, we are measuring this from the angles measurement that you guys learned in chapter 6 here. So this is 210. So if they have exactly the same directions and the same magnitude, then these two vectors are what we call as equivalent vectors. Okay, so the set of all directed lines that are equivalent to direct line PQ is a vector V, and usually, so instead of writing PQ and MN and all these things, so we just denote this as vector V. Okay, and when you write vector V, you have to draw a line on top, or you have to bold it, or you, because I cannot bold it, so I usually draw a line like this. So so when you see a line or a bar on top of a vectors, means that, okay, that means that it is a vector. So V by itself is a variable, but once you draw a line on top of it, it is a vector. Okay, or if you do not want to draw a line on it, then you boldface it. Okay, and make sure you use lowercase for that case. You don't use uppercase. So in your online homework, when you want to write your vectors, you have to use that bold case. So I will show it to you. So for example, is if you want to denote, if you write something in vector form, you have to go through this. This is very important because a lot of students get this wrong in your test. So example, in the test in your homework, let's say this is, you want to find this is vector V. So where is my cowpad? So you have to go under vectors and you see this IJK, so they are all bold. So make sure you use this, these vectors. So if you just type I and J like this, as a vectors, although your answer is correct, but you didn't bold it, you get it wrong. You actually have to use IJ in this case. So you tell that it's different, right? Compared to the IJ that type. So these are vectors, these are variables. So these are two different things. And if you type these IJK variables, they are considered wrong, no matter what what your answer is correct about. So be careful with this. Okay. But for me, it's because I don't have the bold, so I will use a line. Okay. So in the test, I also want you to use a line. Otherwise, if you do not want to use a line, then you just bold it, which is a lot of work. Okay, so I do not want you to bold it, just draw me a line in this case. So this vector V is the same as PQ as long as the vectors are equivalent. Okay. Now what happens if you put the vectors where the initial point is at the origin? This vector V is in what we call as standard position. So what happened here is, in order for us to write this in a standard position, okay, this initial point will be at the origin. Okay, so if you write this this P, the initial point of this is right at the origin, we call this as your standard position. So if you, let's say this is if you have PQ over here, this is not a standard position, but we can always translate this into here. As long as the direction is the same and the magnitude is the same, then you get this vector V, which is the same as the vector PQ, as long as it is equivalent. Okay, and once you do this, you find out that this is in a standard position. Okay, so make sure you guys know standard position means it is from the origin. Your initial point is at the origin, Now, there are three ways for us to write vectors. One is called the component form. Two is called the linear combination form. And three is called the direction form. Okay, the direction form. So there are three ways for us to write vectors. They are all the same way. So in order for us to write this, this is one way. So one way is to write component form. Second way is to write the linear combination form. And then third way is to write the direction form. So when you guys do my test or do my online homework, make sure you read the question, what form they want. So if they want it in a component form, this is what it looks like. The component form in this case will be looks like if you have an initial point P and terminal point Q, then in order for us to find this component form, PQ is Q1 minus P1, Q2 minus P2, and it is written down as in that less than or greater than symbol. So do not use parentheses because parentheses is for coordinates. So for a component form of a vector, you use that greater than or less than symbol here. And this is how we write this in a component form. Very important. And in order for you to find the magnitude of this, or which is the length of this vector v, is you use the distance formula, q1 minus p1 squared plus q2 minus p2 squared. Or the simple way is you just take v1 squared plus v2 squared. Okay. So if this magnitude is exactly 1, we call this vector a unit vector. And if your magnitude of this vector is 0, then we call this as a 0 vector. Okay, so let me show to you what is the meaning of this. So for example, if this vector v is already in a standard position, then you will get yourself a coordinates of your terminal point. So these coordinates, let's say, is -5 and -3. Then we can write this as your component form. So your component form for this vector is going to be -5 and -3. If your vectors is in a standard position, means it's at a 0, 0 here. Okay, so this will be v1, this will be your v2. And if you want to find the magnitude of this vector v, then you just need to take the square root of 5 squared, which is 25, and the square root of 3, which is 9, and this is square root of 34. So this is how you find the vector, the magnitude of vector v, if this is in a standard position. What happens if this is not in the standard position like this? Okay, so that means you got two coordinates. Let's say this is -2 and -5, example, and this is -7 and -9. Again, this is example. Okay, so if you have this not in the standard form, in order for you to find this vector v in this case, so this is vector v or vector p, let's say vector pq, you just need to subtract this. And don't forget, how do we subtract this? If you look at the formula, it's q minus p. So that means it's always taking the terminal minus the initial. So a lot of students make this mistake in the test, is because they take p minus q. So it should be q minus p. So it should be -7, which is q, minus p plus 2, because 2 negative become positive. And then for the y value is -9 plus 5. So this will give me -5 and -4. So this is the component form for this vector PQ if it's not in a standard position. Okay. And if you want to find what is the magnitude of this PQ, you just need to take square root of the square of this. So 25, which is 5 squared, and 16. So what is that? 41, right? So yeah, 41. So is the answer in this case will be square of 41. So this is how we do the standard. This is how we figure out the vector in what we call as a standard position, which is very easy, straightforward type, just the coordinates, and not in a standard position. Okay. So how do we know if it's not in the standard position? Is because the initial part is not at the origin. Okay. So that's how we figure out. So if you look at the first example, I want you guys to find the component form and the magnitude of this vector v, where the initial point is 1, 3, and the terminal point is -8, -9. So this is the example that I want you guys to do. Go ahead and do these examples. So it looks very similar to what we did on this blue one. Okay. So go ahead and figure out what is the vector in this case. Don't forget to use less than or greater than symbol. Don't use parentheses, because parentheses is not vector. Parentheses is coordinates. Anyone? Anyone know how to find the component form for this vector v? Nick, Danny, Yuko?
Would it be -9 and -12?
Okay. So how you get -9 and -12? Yuko, that's correct.
Well, I don't know how to explain what I put down.
How do you get -9? What minus what?
Well, I did can I look back on my
Anyone? Adrian? Yes,
Would
your
it be
answer.
-8 - 1?
Yes, it's -8 minus 1. That is where you get your -9. Okay, make sure you know how to get it, because a lot of students in the test, they take the initial minus the terminal, which is +9. That is wrong. Okay, and anyone know how we get the -12, which is correct, Nicole? You take what minus what?
And would it just be -9 minus 3?
Yep.
Yeah.
So make sure you, that's correct, Yuko. So make sure you understand that you always take the terminal minus the initial. So that is your answer, -9, -12, and make sure you use the less than or equal greater than, the symbol, the less than greater than. Next, we need to find the magnitude. So how do you figure out the magnitude in this case? You take the square root of what? The two numbers you just found, and you square them. So you take this -9 that you have, and you square it, and you take the -12 and you square it. Anyone got what's the answer here?
Square root of 205, I think, or is it 225?
So this is 81, and this is 144,
81.
right?
Yeah, 225 then,
And what is the root of 225?
25.
Not
think.
25.
No, hold on.
Isn't it 15?
Yeah, it's 15.
15.
So this is how you figure out the vector for this vector v in a component form. And this is how you figure out the magnitudes of this vector v. So make sure you guys, this is not that tough, right? It's not that difficult. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about here is, we're not worried about sketching, is doing addition and subtraction with vectors. So if you have two vectors, vector u and vector v, you can actually add them, subtract them, multiply them, and so on. So if you add them, you just add the same components. So example is, if you have u plus v, you just add the u components, and you add the u components. This is a typo, should be u1, should be add the u, add the first component for the u, for the first component, and then the ones u1 and v1 you add together, and add the second component for the second. So in this case, if you have addition of two vectors or subtraction of two vectors, it's like combined like terms, or add the same first and second component. But what happens when you multiply with a scalar? So if you multiply this with a scalar k, you just distribute it. You distribute the k into your first and your second. So you kind of distribute it. So for example, in this case is, so this is pretty much a very straightforward type. So for example, in this case is number 3. I want you to figure out what is u plus v, u minus v, and 2u minus 3v. Given us that u is this vector and v is that vector. So in order for us to figure out, this is very easy, but a lot of students get this wrong in the test. Because I like, sometimes if I give you easy questions, you guys tend to make mistakes, kind of mistakes. So u in this case is 2, 1. And v in this case is 1, 3. So you need to figure out what is u plus v. So how do you figure out u plus v? Is you take the first component, you add it. Anyone know what's the addition of first component? 2 plus 1 is 3. And then you add the second component. That will be 4. And that's your answer. It's very easy. If I want you to find what is u minus v, then instead of adding this, you just subtract it. So 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 3 is -2. Okay, so what happens is you subtract, and then you subtract, add, you add. What happens when I ask you to do 2u minus 3v? So in order for us to do this, you just need to, first thing first, multiply 2 to the u. So when you multiply this 2 to the u, this vector is double. So instead of 2, 1, it becomes 4, 2. You double it. And then you minus 3 times the v. So this is 3v. So what you do with this v is you triple it because of the 3. So you distribute the 3. So this one will become 3. And this 3 will become 9. Okay. So you triple that and you double that because the question is asking 2u and 3v. And then once you got this, what you do is you just subtract it. So 4 minus 3 is 1. 2 minus 9 is -7. So this is how we do the addition and subtraction. And if you multiply with 2u and 3v, when you multiply 2 is double. When you multiply 3 is you triple. It can be 4, 5 u or v, you just multiply it. Anyone have any questions with this kind? It's pretty easy, right? Anyone have any questions for me? So this is what we call as the component form. Okay, so make sure you guys know the word component form, very important. We have another one, it's called the linear combination. A linear combination is where you write this in a standard unit vector, means that you will use I and J, where I in this case is 0, 1, 0, and the J is 0, 1. So if I want to put this in a linear combination form, your linear combination form in this case is V is equals to V1I plus V2J, where V1 and V2 is what we call as horizontal and the vertical component of V. So what is this standard, the linear combination form is you can convert this component form into that linear combination form by putting I and J. So remember in question 1, the vector V that we found is -9 and -12. So if I want you to write this in a linear combination form, then your vector V in this case is -9I minus 12J. So so these two are the same thing. Okay, so either you put it in that greater than or less than symbol, which is called component form, or you replace the last ingredient with I and J, that is called a linear combination form. So can someone tell me what is the linear combination form for 3A? What was this linear combination form? 3 and 4. It will be what? Three I plus 4J. You guys with me? So if you got 3, 4 means 3I plus 4J. So again, this is called as the component form. And this is called a linear combination form. Can you give me what is a linear combination form for B? 1 minus 2? It'll be what?
-1.
No. Just
No.
I.
Just, oh, I guess it's okay.
This is 1I minus what? 2J. What is a linear combination form for this?
Would it just be I minus 7J?
Yep, that's correct. And this is where I point out to you the I and J that you have in this case. Please do not use I and J in the keyboard. Okay, so it has to be, so if I want you to write this, let's say you have to use this. So if your answer is I plus 6J, this is how you write this, not this way, I plus 6J. Okay, so you will get it wrong if you write this way in your online homework because the I and J is not bold. So you have to use the bold I and J, and in order for you to find that, use under vectors. So if you click vectors, you got an IJ symbol, or you bold it. Here you go. But so a lot of students get wrong in your homework here is because you didn't bold your I and J. Okay, you guys good? Now, I want you guys to do question number 4 here. Given us that U in this case is -2I plus J, V in this case is 3J. I want you guys to find U plus V, U minus V, and 2U minus 3V. It's mostly combined like terms. So go ahead and do this question number 4 here. Can you guys take a picture of this screen? Because I put you guys in groups. Go ahead and take pictures of 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6 here, because I will put you guys in groups here. So go ahead and try to do question 4. U plus V, U minus V, and 2U minus 3V. Actually, this is not that difficult. I don't think we need to do group work today because you guys can do this on your own. This is not too difficult. So vector u is negative 2i plus j. And vector v in this case is 3j. So can someone tell me what is u plus v here? Combine like terms. Combine the j terms and combine the I terms. Anyone?
3, 4.
Make sure you don't give me 3, 4 because you will get it wrong in the test. It has not 3, 4. 3, 4 is wrong too. Anyone? When you add this, you just add these two, right? So it's negative 2i plus j. This is your vector u. And you add vector v, 3j. So what you get?
Would it be negative 2i plus 4j?
Yep. Come on, class, you should know this. This is easy. And for u minus v, go ahead and try u minus v. Anyone got what is u minus v is?
Would it be negative 2i plus j minus 3j?
So what you get?
Negative 2i minus 2j.
Huh?
Negative 2i minus 2j or
Okay.
negative 2j?
Yep, that's good. Yep. Negative 2i minus 2j. Yep. Questions with this? It's pretty much straightforward type algebra. No tricks here, just combine like terms. What about 2u minus 3v? What do you guys think about this one? What is 2u in this case means? You take this fellow and what you do? Multiply this by 2, right? So what do you get? Negative.
Negative 4i plus 2j.
And then you have to multiply this with a negative 3 because we have a negative 3v here. So what do you get when you multiply this with negative 3?
Negative 9j.
So what you got when you combine them?
Negative 4i minus 7j.
Yep. So this is your your what we call as using linear combinations. So I want to point out to you is if the question gave us in linear combination, your answer has to be linear combination. So do not translate this back to component form like this, okay? Which is negative 2, 4 for this case. Do not do that because in your homework, they will mark you wrong. So if your form is in component form, give me in component form. If your form is in linear combination form, give it to me in linear combination form. So do not switch them around until it's telling you that please switch it to linear combination or switch it to the other form. Okay. So this is what we call as doing addition and subtraction. And we also need to talk about unit vectors. So this is something that you need to memorize or put it in your whatever the card that you have I told you to do. So this is very important. A unit vector in this case is given us by v over absolute value of v, or in this the magnitude of v. So in order for us to find a unit vector, you take the vector over by the the magnitude of V. Okay, and again, what is a unit vector? A unit vector is where it has a magnitude of 1. So in order for you to find this, you take the vector V over by the magnitude of it. So example in this case is like question number 5. So in order for us to find the unit vector V here, which is 5 and -12, we just need to do the unit vector formula is you take the vector V over by the magnitude of vector V. So vector V in this case is 5, -12. And the magnitude of this, so magnitude means you find a distance. So square root of 25 plus 144. Does anyone know what is 25 plus 144?
$169.
And what is the root of 169?
13.
So what you do here is you just make this over 13. So your answer for this unit vector V in this case is 5 over 13, comma, -12 over 13. So this is what we call as the unit vector. Okay. You take the vector over by its magnitude. Okay. Questions? Number 6 is the same thing, but this is in a linear combination form. So vector W is 7j minus 3i. So how do you find the unit vector for this case? Anyone? Anyone? So you put the vector W over here, which is 7j minus 3i, and then over by its magnitude. Anyone know how to find the magnitude in this case? Carl, Anders, Faris.
Would the bottom be 49 plus 3 plus 9?
Yep. So 49 came from the 7 square, 9 came from the 3 square. Again, the negative when you square become positive. And what is 49 plus 9, Daddy?
58.
With the square root, we'll get the square root. Okay. So your answer in this case will be 7 over 58j minus 3 over root 58i. Don't forget the square root. So this is how we find the unit vector. So make sure you read the question carefully. What do I want you to find? Is that a unit vector or is that a addition, subtractions? So make sure you read the question super carefully. Okay. Question number 7 Question number 7 is asking us to find the vector v, given us that the magnitude of the v is 9, has the same directions of vector u, which is 2, 5 in the component form. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? It means that you have to translate this into a unit vector. So the unit vector in this case for the vector v is going to be vector v over by 9, because that is the magnitude. And you also need to find what is the unit vector for u. So that will be 2, 5 over by square root of 4 plus 25. Because 4 is the 2 square, 5 is 25. 5 squared is 25. So this is actually a square of 29. So what do we do here is we make this equal. The reason why is because they have the same direction. That means these two vectors are equivalent. So you just do like cross multiply. So vector v equals to, so you multiply this by 9, because the 9 will be go over there. So you times, so like solving equations. So this will give me 2 times 9 is 18. And 5 times 9 is 45. And this is over by root 29. Because our denominator is square root of 29. Now you notice that I didn't do any rationalizing denominator. Remember last time when we did in the first test, I say you need to rationalize this. So in this case, you do not need to rationalize your denominator. So please, you can stop using, because in this test, I'm not testing you how to rationalize the denominator. So you can leave square root in your answer. Okay. I think your online homework also take that. Next, we gonna, now, it is easy. Now we do number 9. Find the component form of this. V is half of 3u plus w, where u is 2i minus j and w is I plus 2j. So they want you to find vector v. They give us 1/2 times 3u plus w, where u, vector u in this case is 2i minus j, and vector w in this case is I plus 2j. So what do we do in here is plug u into here and plug w into here. And then after that, solve it, like combine like terms and stuff like that, not solving, simplify this, and you will get your answer. So I want everyone here to do question number 9 here, which is, this is not tough. Given us that, what is the vector v in this case? Half of 3u plus w. U is this, w is that. And I want you guys to send me a private message. What is your answer here? And that is your attendance for today. That is your attendance for today. Everyone, please send me not to everyone, so make sure you send it to me. I think you guys know how to send a private message to me, right? So go ahead and try this. Private message, don't forget. Adrian, that is correct. Take away your IJ, put a comma in between. That is correct. Please send me a private message. Adrian, you are correct. You are in my class today. This is not tough. This is like algebra 1, just in a vector form. Yep, that is correct, Damon. But I will tell you why you make that mistakes. This is correct. Yuko, just check your sign. Dosia, don't forget you have a 1/2 here. But plug, Nick, plug this into your U and plug this into your W and combine like terms. Logan, watch out for your sign. So Yuko, and you need to watch class. This is simple stuff. You just need to watch your sign here. There you go, Jakub, that is correct. Danny, watch your sign again. Come on, guys. This is algebra 1, combine like terms. Yep, that's correct, Nicholas. Yep, that is how you write your answer. Cow is not 4.5. Can you try to figure out again? Cardio 2, watch your sign. You guys, you know what? And Yuko, you need to distribute your half of that. I found out that you guys having difficulty combine like terms here. Yep, it's not 1/2 I. If you give me 1/2 J, it's not 1/2 J or 0.5 J. Yuko, you get that wrong. That is not right. That's it. Where's the rest of the class? Cal, be careful. You guys are all having difficulty with signs. Yep, thank you, Cardio, too. That is much better. Okay. Yep. Distribute the 1/2, Anders. Distribute the 1/2. Just class, in your test, if you make a wrong sign, I will take points off. Okay. Yep. Just be careful with this. This is simple stuff. It's not difficult. All right, so this is the end of it. So you guys all try it. So those students who did not reply back to me in 1 minute, I will mark you guys as absent for today. That's easy. So the rest who did not participate in this, I will, yep, thank you, Anders. That is so much better. Right. So this is the end of it. So attendance is over. Huh? You have to combine like terms here, Cameron. Don't leave your answer like that. Okay, so attendance is over. So anyone that is below this line is considered absent in this case. So class, this is very simple stuff. So 1/2. So this will become what? 6i minus 3j, because you're multiplying 3 to your 2i and your negative j. And then plus the w, which is I plus 2j. So what you have in this case is 1/2. Combine like terms here. So you will get 7i minus j, not plus j. Okay, I don't know how you guys, not 5j, Cameron, because this is -3 and this is +2. You guys having trouble with this kind of questions? And then you distribute 1/2. So it's you'll be 7/2 because half times 7 is 7/2I minus 1/2 J. So this is half times 7 is 7/2 and then J. Now, this is your answer for this case. So if you did not get this, I think you should just go back to your algebra 0 or algebra 1 because this is so simple stuff. However, in your homework, if you type this out, it is wrong. It's because the question wants you in a component form. So this is not a component form because the question wants in a component form. So how do you write this in component form? Is using the less than or greater than symbol, and you take out your i's. So in this case, it will be 7/2 and negative 1/2. So this is your answer for question 9 in a component form. Questions? Very simple material. You should be able to know how to do this. Okay. Just want to point out, if you get it wrong in your homework, check your work. It's mostly because of the careless mistakes you make. All right. Questions you have? Anyone? Anyone have any questions? So that's why I told you to read the question carefully. If they don't mention what form they want, then you can leave it in the linear combination form, which a lot of you did it in the chat room. But if you the question was component form, then you talk about component form. Okay. So this is the two forms we mentioned about, linear combination form and the component form. So as I told you, there's the third way. The third way is called the direction form. So when you have a direction form is in the form of coordinates, where remember when you do your unit circle, where your, this is wrong. This is actually wrong. So this is not correct. Where you will use your X and your Y. You guys remember what is the X in this case? Is that your sine or your cosine here, your X? You know, remember X is your what? Cosine theta, and your Y in this case is the sine theta. So in this case, this has actually been switched around. So make sure so when you guys do a direction form means it's in terms of cosine and sine. Where X in this case is your cosine theta, Y in this case is your sine theta, same thing as what you learned in the unit circle. So you can write this direction form in the form of cosine theta I plus sine theta J. And then this form is using by this, you have a magnitude. So you multiply this with a magnitude. So you multiply this whole thing with the magnitude. So you multiply this whole thing with your magnitude. In this case, magnitude of u. Okay. So this is what we call as your direction form. So in order for you to find what is the theta is, you will use the tangent. So tangent theta is sine over cosine, b over a, or in this case is y over x. So I usually use y over x, and why I use b over a here. So usually I use y over x. That is how you figure out your tangent in this case. So in order for us to measure your direction form, you have two things. One, figure out what is the angle, and that is using tangent theta equals sine theta over cosine theta. And then you have to figure out what is the magnitude of it. The magnitude, you use a distance formula, the square root of this cosine theta squared plus sine theta squared. So this is the direction angle form. So I will show it to you how it looks like. So this question, this is what we call as your direction form. Okay, the one below here, where you will see that it consists of the 8 and then the cosine I-135 and sine 135. So this is the direction form. And this direction form consists of these two numbers. So in order for us to find the magnitude in this case is 8. And if they want you to find what is the angle, so the direction angle in this case is 135. So this is the meaning of the direction angle form. So it has to multiply with its magnitude, with cosine and sine, with the theta, where the theta in this case is the direction angle in this case. So if a question gives you this is direction angle form. So now what happens if I give, what happens if you have like question number that you have here? How do you write this in a direction angle? This is your linear combination. This is your component form. So how do you write this in a direction form? Okay. So first thing when you write this in the direction form, if I give you anything here, is first find the magnitude of it. Okay. And how do you find the magnitude? Is you square this fellow. So it will be 49 over 4, because square of 7 is 49 over 4. And then you square the half, which is 1 over 4. So the direction for this, the magnitude for this is not the direction, this is the magnitude, is 50 over 4. Which is 5 over 2 root 2. Okay, so 50 is 25 times 2. That's why I got 5 root 2. 4 is a root 2. So this is the magnitude of it. And in order for you to find the direction of this, you just need to use tangent theta. And you just take your y value over by your x value. So your y value in this case is -1/2. And your x value in this case is 7 over 2. Okay. And the half will cancel. So, and then you move the tangent over. So theta in this case is the arctangent of -1 over 7. So, so we need to figure out what is this. So you can use your calculator. Usually, we want this in a degree form. Again, it will be tell you in the homework what form to use. So I use it at degree. So the arctangent of -1 over 7, 1 over 7. And I'll find the arctangent of it. So that is actually is 1.16. So this is 1.1. This is all in degree because the mode is degree. Is that right? No, this is not the correct way to do it. Sorry, this is wrong. What is the arctangent of that? Arctangent parentheses negative. Oh my god, I'm gonna use my calculator because it's easier to use my calculator. I am not using this scientific calculator. Horrible. Arctangent of -1 over 7 is negative. This is negative 8.13 degrees. Okay. I just want to point out to you guys that this sometimes is correct, sometimes it's wrong. And I can tell you that this angle is wrong. Why this angle is wrong here is because if you graph this, the 7/2 and -1/2 is right here. 7/2 is here, -1/2 is here. So it's in quadrant 4. So this -8.13 degrees is this direction, because the reason why it's going clockwise is because the angle is negative. But usually we want this in a positive. So you have to figure out what is this direction. So can someone tell me how you figure out this angle if your angle is -8.13 degrees? How do you figure out the blue one? Anyone? If this angle is -8.13, how do we figure out the blue one?
Is it 360 minus 8.13?
Yep. So you take 360 minus 8.13. That will be 351 point. So it's 351.87 degrees. Okay. So what is your answer? It's a lot more work to do actually. What is your answer in this case in the direction form? Is 5/2 square root of 2 times cosine of 351.87 I plus sine 351.87 J. So this is how you write this form in a direction angle form, where this is your magnitude and this is your direction angle. So what I want to point to you guys here is when you find this tangent theta equals to sine theta or y over sine over cosine y over x, be careful. Be careful for what quadrant it belongs to, and 2, you only use positive angles. Okay, and so if you got a negative angles come out, you cannot use that. And 3, you have to figure out, are we talking about degree or are we using radian? So this is something that I want you to watch out here, because a lot of students, the first one is important, the quadrant, because sometimes the quadrant is in a different quadrant, but your calculator gives you the wrong quadrant. So you have to transfer it to another quadrant. So either you have to add or subtract 360 or 180 or pi or 2 pi, depends on degree or radian. And then we always use positive angles. So if your calculator came up negative angles like what we did over there on the previous one, so you have to change it to positive by either adding usually we add 360. And then depends on the questions, do you want degree or radian? So if it's degree, make sure you set your mode in your calculator in degree. Otherwise, you have to do it in radian. So it's the last form is the most difficult form, because of it is in a different direction form is the most difficult form to use. Okay, so for question number 11, you have to find the component form. Given us the magnitude is this, and the theta is this, and then you sketch the vector v. So since they give us magnitude and direction, we can use this in a direction form. Okay. So I'm gonna do that in this case. So I'm gonna do this in a direction form. The reason why I'm using direction form on question 11 is because it is given us the theta. So so the direction form in this case is for the vector v here is you take the magnitude times the cosine theta I plus sine theta j. Okay. So magnitude in this case is 2 square root of 3 times cosine theta in this case is 45 degrees. Sine 45 degrees. So this is what we call as the direction form. But since this question wants this in a component form, and component form means you have to use the less than and greater than symbol. So what do I do here is I just need to multiply this inside. So for the component form, this is 2 root 3 times cosine 45. This is for the first component, I. And then 2 root 3 sine 45. Again, this is all degrees for the second component. And you just need to use that less than greater symbols. And then what we need to do now is to change the value. What is the value for cosine and sine 45 degrees using your unit circle? So do you guys still remember what is cosine 45 and sine 45 using your unit circle? Anyone?
Is it root 2 over 2?
So this is root 2 over 2. Yep. Both of them. So what happened is that this 2 and this 2 will cancel. So what we have in this case is root 6, because root 3 times root 2 is root 6. And then this 2 and 2 also can be canceled. So this also becomes 6. So the component form for this, given us the magnitude and the theta here, is root 6 over root 6 and root 6. And how do you sketch this angle? Sketching this angle is very easy because we know this is 45 degrees. And this will be the vector v here. And the magnitude, that means the distance from one end to the other end is 2 root 3. Okay, so if you take a ruler and measure, this is 2 root 3. And if you want to figure out what coordinates is this below, this coordinates is root 6 and root 6, which is given us by this component form. Okay. So the coordinate, this root 6 means is the coordinates for him. This 45 degrees means is the angle form for this, which is the direction. And the 2 root 3 is a magnitude. So that's the reason why we call it as a vector, because you need a magnitude and a direction. And this coordinates is root 6, root 6. Anyone have any questions for me? So we're gonna stop over here. So the next time when you come back, we will be doing some word problems here. So there are a couple word problems in this case, and then we will do 8.4, which is more about vectors. So these two sections is very heavy on vectors, 8.3 and 8.4. So I will also suggest you to start working on your 8.3 and 8.3 homework. The first few questions are very straightforward, as you know that it's pretty straightforward type. Mostly is coming up from your algebra class, which is combined like terms. But make sure you guys know that there are 3 forms here: component form, direction form, and the linear combination forms. Okay, read the question really well and see what kind of forms you are using. And don't forget the IJ, do not use IJ in the keyboard. Use IJ in your vectors in a calculator pad when you do your online work. Anyone have any questions for me with this sections or this any online homework here before we end the